and welcome to this week's video. We're quite well advanced through the looking at the moves of the Shibashi set now. Just a reminder that although I'm demonstrating each of the moves of the Shibashi set individually, please don't incorporate them as part of your practice. The moves are designed to be all done together to get the energetically balanced is the best way of describing it. The short version of the Shibashi, just the first 4 moves that I lead in the video later, is perfect if you want to incorporate something into your daily practice. So for now this is just for information, although I will hope to be able to put everything together so that those of you who want to explore the Shibashi set in greater depth can do so. So today we're looking at a move that's called the rotating flywheel, and it's done in bear stance. So that's feet side by side, hip width apart, feet parallel pointing forwards, back straight, neck straight. And it looks as if it's a very big movement of the arms, because what it is, you make circular movements, breathing in on the upstroke and out as you go down, and then you do a few circles in that direction, and then halfway through you reverse it and you do a few circles in the other direction until you've ideally done the same number of moves in each direction to keep things balanced. And it looks as if it all comes from the shoulders, that it's really good exercise for your shoulders. And one mistake that people often make when they do this is they stretch up to make the circle as big as they possibly can, which is actually completely wrong. So when doing this move, things to be careful of are that you don't stretch, that you keep your shoulders nice and relaxed. This is a very good case where small is beautiful. And if you haven't got can't get a very slow breath, it's possible that that's about the size of your circle. But it's called the rotating flywheel, which is a very odd move, a very odd name for it really. But I want you to think about not just a flywheel, but almost about any wheel. When you've got a wheel, the outside turns at a great rate. But it's turning at a great rate because of what's going on in the middle. Because the impetus to make the movement actually comes from the centre of the wheel. And ideally, that is what happens in this move. Ideally, what happens is that you've got your core abdominal muscles well engaged. And you kind of have to sort of imagine you're almost sort of belly dancing, so that you imagine your belly button shifting slightly that way and then rising up and then shifting slightly back that way and then sinking back down again. So that it's the movement of your core muscles together with the extra movement of your breath that actually causes your arms to move. That, however, is very advanced, and as my teacher always says, even if all you're doing is waving your arms around, you're getting some benefit. But I do think it's important that you know where the true benefit of this move lies. But if, like me, your core muscles aren't as good as they should be, and the idea of moving your belly button around like that is something that's quite foreign to you, because I'm not a master, I just happen to have practiced a lot more than the rest of you have. The best way to do this move is let your arms hang long and loose and light. Remember the concept of empty arms. And then as you breathe in, just let your hands slowly float up, remembering not to hunch your shoulders. And then at the top, just slightly change your hand position. This is going from yin hand to yang hand, but don't worry too much about that. And then do the same in the other direction. The important things with this move are keep the movement small if you need to. Try and keep your hands moving quite slowly. I've heard the advice given to pretend you've got rare butterflies on your hands and you don't want them to fly off. So keep the movement small, keep your hands moving fairly slowly, don't hunch your shoulders, and remember to do at least 3 circles in each direction. This move is a kind of right, what's the best way to describe it? It's a kind of mixing move. In the Qigong set, there are different sorts of moves. You've got moves that fill up, you've got moves that let out, and you've got moves that mix. And this is very much a move that mixes. And it's actually a sign that we're almost at the end of describing the Shimashi moves, because there's actually only 3 more sections to describe. So we're nearly at the end. Okay, so now it's time for personal Qigong practice, and I'd like to invite you to get yourself into your personal space. Turn the phone off, make sure you're not going to be disturbed. Shut the door and remind yourself that this is your time when you're doing something to help you. So we'll begin by bowing in, because bowing in is an important way of actually starting to shift your energy around. So bring your left hand across your body with your palm up. Right hand, palm down. Clasp arms and bow. And then step into a good bear stance, side by side stance, as best you can. If you're seated, then just make sure that your back is as straight as it can be, your neck is as straight as it can be. Get your feet still a hip width apart if you can, with your feet flat on the floor. So when you've got yourself, whether you're standing or sitting, into your best possible posture, I just want you to take a moment to just breathe. And as you breathe, try to get a sense of how your body moves with the breath. Maybe use your breath to tune in to anything that your body needs. Maybe there's a bit of you that's sending signals that means it needs a bit more attention. And maybe try to tune into your mind and get a sense of how you need to feel at the end of this session. Then I'd like you to imagine that you're a tree. A tree standing straight and tall. And if you're seated, just imagine that you're standing as straight and tall as you can. And I'd like you to really be aware of the roots growing out of the base of the trunk down into the ground. Really feel those roots reaching down deep into the earth, connecting you to the earth and making you feel grounded, rooted and stable. Then Then let your hands hang loosely by your sides, making sure that the palms of your hands are facing backwards. Get your knees slightly bent if you're standing. And then with your next in-breath, when you're ready, just slowly let your arms float out in front of you. And as you breathe out, they just sink all the way down. Breathe in, let your arms float up. Breathe out, and they sink back down. And you move your arms as far as you can manage in one gentle, easy breath. Only move your arms as far as they're happy to go based on what your shoulder wants to do. Remember, work within 70% of your maximum ability. So breathe in, let your arms float up. As you breathe out, just let them sink down, and we'll do this move once more. Then we'll go on to the second move, which starts very much the same. Then turn your palms in and let your arms spread apart. And then as you breathe out, your hands move back in and back down. As you breathe in, really be aware of your chest and lungs expanding. As you breathe out, feel them relax. Let your arms move in response to that expansion and relaxation. Make this move as big as you can. Remember, small is beautiful. If your breath won't allow you to make a big move, that's fine. Breathe in, let your arms float up and then spread apart. And as you breathe out, they float back in and back down. And we'll do this move one more time. Then we'll get ready to paint rainbows, breathing in, letting your arms rise as high as you can get them without hunching your shoulders. And as you breathe out, I want you to gently sink down on your left-hand side and let your right arm uncurl. As you breathe in, bring everything back to the centre, then do the same on the other side. Remember to keep your back straight. You shouldn't be leaning over as you sink, but just maybe imagine you're rubbing your backside against a wall, moving it slightly sideways as you sink down so that your back remains straight. And then we'll do this move one more time on each side. As you breathe in, bring your weight to the centre, your hands meet at the top, then turn your palms outwards. As you breathe out, let your hands gently float all the way down by your side, and on the in-breath, they rise up again. Remember, with this move, keep your shoulders nice and relaxed, keep your arms loose, light and gentle, and empty. Let your arms slowly float up and then slowly float back down. Don't force anything, let it just happen completely naturally. We'll do this move one more time. And this time, as you breathe out, gently bring your hands into position in front of your abdomen, ready to balance your chi. And as you breathe in, imagine you're feeling around a small ball, and as you breathe out, imagine you're pushing it underwater. Keep this movement nice and small. Be careful to take your hands no higher than your heart. Let's move twice more. Breathe in, feel around that ball, breathe out, and your hands sink down. Then last time, feel around that ball, and then this time as you breathe out, imagine you're pushing that ball of energy into your belly button, and let your hands come to rest in front of your belly button if you can. If not, just let them come to rest wherever's comfortable. And just for a moment, I want you to stand or sit, whatever you're doing, quietly, and just breathe and stay still and just let everything settle. And when you're ready, let your hands float down by your side, bring your left foot into your right, and we'll bow out as we bowed in. Then get yourself wherever you're going to be for the meditation. I'll give you a minute while I just take a sip of tea. So, get yourself settled down, whether you're sitting, lying or standing. And if you're sitting, if you're not on a stool but you're on a chair, try to make sure that you've got your back as straight as you can, so that you're actually away from the back of the chair. Mindfulness is very relaxing, but mindfulness is sometimes called falling awake, and if you're leaning into something, it can be a little bit easy to just relax and doze off, but if that's what happens, that doesn't really matter. And before I start, I'd just like to remind you that mindfulness isn't about clearing your mind, it's about being aware of things, being aware of what your mind is doing, being aware of signals that your body is sending you. So some people find it easier to focus on things if they have their eyes closed, but some people find that, particularly in long meditation, which this isn't really, but in long meditation they find they have a tendency to fall asleep, which isn't the idea. So they prefer to keep their eyes open, but it's entirely up to you. Now, I hope you've got yourself settled now. And the first thing, as ever, I want you to settle to focus on is going to be the sound of my singing bowl. I'm going to ring the bowl 3 times, and the third time I'm going to let the sound die away quite naturally. And I just want you to be aware of the sound of the singing bowl and try to notice that point where the sound fades into silence. As the sound of the bowl fades into silence, just be aware of any other sounds that are reaching your ears. Don't give in to the natural tendency to classify them or identify them. Just be aware if any sounds are reaching your ears, wherever they're from. But they're just sounds, and they're of no importance. And then I'd like you to move your awareness inwards, and I'd like you to become very aware of your body and where your body is, and whether you're in a chair or a stool or lying or even standing, I want you to be aware of where your body is touching anything. Maybe you can notice different textures. Maybe there are bits of you that aren't touching anything, and you can be aware of the lack of sensation from that part of your body. Just notice where and how your body is interacting with whatever you're sitting or standing or lying on. Maybe you can get a sense of how your body is supported by the bed or the chair or the stool. Maybe get a sense of just sinking a little bit deeper in. And as you do, just let your shoulders relax a little bit. Then I'd like you to move your attention further inwards so that you're focusing your awareness onto your breathing. I just want you to be aware of every in-breath and every out-breath. Now let go of a very natural tendency to wonder if you're doing it right, or to wonder if other people are doing it different, or if you're noticing the right things. It doesn't matter. Whatever you notice is perfect for you. I just want you to notice what comes naturally to your attention as you focus your awareness on your breathing. I don't want you to change your breath in any way. Just breathe naturally. Maybe try to get a sense that the breath is happening all by itself as it naturally would. And just notice what it is that you notice. Now maybe you'll realise that your mind has wandered away from this, because not a really very natural thing to do. So if you notice that your mind has wandered away, I want you to congratulate yourself. Because mindfulness isn't clearing your mind, it's noticing what your mind is doing. Then you're being mindful. Problem is, sometimes what our mind wants to think about doesn't make us feel so good. And if your mind has been taken away, it's probably been taken away by something that happened in the past, or by something that's going to happen in the future. So when you notice that your mind has wandered away, you can, if you like, acknowledge what took it away, and then gently lead your mind back to focusing on every in-breath and every out-breath. Because right here, right now, nothing else matters except just this breath coming in, just this breath going out. Just this breath coming in, just this breath going out. And it doesn't matter how many times your mind wanders away. As many times as it wanders away, just as many times, gently, compassionately, lead your mind back to every in-breath and every out-breath. So what is it that you notice about each breath? Do you maybe notice air moving in your nose? Maybe you notice that as you breathe in, the air coming into your nose is cold. As you breathe out, it's warmer. Maybe you can feel air moving in the back of your throat. Maybe you can feel the muscles moving in your chest and back. Maybe you can feel the muscles moving in your tummy, rising and falling with every in-breath and every out-breath. Just let your attention rest with whatever comes most strongly to it. And if there's something I've mentioned that you're not aware of, just register a blank. because whatever you notice is perfect for you. Whatever you notice, chances are that there's movement involved in it somewhere. Movement of muscles, movement of air. There's a lot of movement associated with your breathing. But now, can you become aware of that brief moment of stillness that happens in between each breath? When your in-breath becomes an out-breath, and then again when your out-breath becomes an in-breath, just for a moment, everything is still. Don't hold your breath. I don't want you to try to extend that moment in any way. But can you become aware of that moment when everything is still? How do you feel in that stillness? Now, stillness is something that can be very hard to find in a modern world. We have to rush here and there, and our minds are often rushing, trying to think about several things at once. And that's actually not good for us. And if a car was just kept running forever and never stopped for petrol or for maintenance, it would just break down. Well, the same thing's true of us. If we never stop, we will break down. Now, you might like to think about the fact that that moment of stillness that you've just identified actually happens hundreds and hundreds of times every day, whether you're aware of it or not. So maybe you can use your breath as an anchor, to anchor yourself so that you can find that moment of stillness anytime you need it. Use your breath as an anchor, to anchor you into this moment. Because whatever else is going on, you can only cope with what's happening in this moment, right here, right now. Maybe you could imagine that every time that moment of stillness happens, it puts a tiny drop of stillness into that place where you store all your good feelings. Can you find that place now? That place that you have deep inside you, where you store all your good feelings. And with your next in-breath, I'd like you to imagine that you breathe into that place. And as you breathe out, your breath carries with it the feeling that you need most, right here, right now. As you continue to breathe quite gently, can you imagine that feeling spreading around the whole of your body? And when it's spread, for a moment hold the whole of your body in your awareness and notice how good it feels when it's filled with that feeling. Then let your awareness move a little bit further out. Can you become aware once more of where your body is, whether it's on the bed or the chair or whatever? Become aware once more of the space that your body is taking up in the room. And then let your awareness spread further out and maybe become aware of sounds reaching your ears from inside or outside the room. Then I'm going to ask you once more to listen for the sound of the singing bowl. Keep your eyes closed if they are closed, until the bowl has sounded for the third time. Bring yourself back to normal awareness. Do take a moment before you rush off and carry on with the rest of your day. But do keep in the front of your mind the thought that you can take this good feeling with you through the rest of the day simply by focusing your awareness onto your breath. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Feel free to share it with anybody else that you think that might benefit from it. If you're enjoying these videos and are thinking, oh, I'd really like to have extra video time, then pop along over to my Patreon page. The link is given at the top of the Crystal Wolf Qigong and Mindfulness page, where you can become a sponsor, and sponsors get an extra half hour of video time each week looking at the things that they need to look at. So you can more or less dictate what goes into the videos. In the meantime, thank you for watching. If there's anything that you would specifically like me to cover next time in the meditation, you know how to contact me, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much for watching.